Hello, it's been a few months since my last video, but I'm back to talk about TBC and Fury Warriors again. With Tier 5 approaching in the next couple of weeks, I thought it'd be a good time to just catch up and share some of my experiences over the last couple of months. So my original Fury Warrior video was just made in an effort to convince people the Fury Warrior could do well in TBC and that it wasn't all just doom and gloom. I'm definitely happy to see that this played out pretty much as I expected, with Fury performing really well in Tier 4 when given a fair opportunity, and if anything I feel like it was even better than I expected. A few surprises. I didn't anticipate how bosses would be so easy that we would be effectively seeing guilds doing speed kills 2 weeks into the expansion, and so the Death Wish build was almost immediately stronger than the Rampage one. And for sure Rampage builds are still very competitive, but at the ultimate levels of optimization, the potential of Death Wish is massive, particularly during the execute phase. And so with that in mind, I must admit, after going over our kill strategies, I also swapped to play the Death Wish build. And while I always thought that'd be the case later in the tier, I didn't quite expect this so soon. Looking back over these last 3 months, for those who didn't know, I had not seriously played Classic WoW at all. I'm a TBC guy and I initially planned to run my own guild. But with most of my friends choosing to focus on 9.1 and other games and not play classic TBC, I had to look for other options. That meant abandoning my admittedly poorly geared 60 warrior and starting fresh. Through some old connections, I was given the opportunity to play with Panacea on Razorgo, a TBC guild with a long history and some familiar faces. Many of them, like myself, starting fresh in TBC. I must admit, the first week of TBC was carnage. If we go back to when I made my last video, we were in the middle of a pandemic lockdown. I wasn't able to work, I couldn't go out and see my friends or do much of anything. But TBC Classic launched at the beginning of June, exactly the same time as the lockdowns eased up and I could go to work again. I'm a musician by profession, and I could not believe how fast the work came back in as the music events were once again able to take place. Balancing World of Warcraft and work became quite tricky, and that's largely why it's taken me so long to make another video. So I joined this guild, and the deal was I would play arms 50% of the time in 25-man raids and share Fury duties with the other warrior. And then in 10-man I would play protection to help the guild run multiple Karazhan runs. So I hit level 70 the Monday before the first reset. The guild's plan was to clear all the tier 4 content and Karazhan in week 1, and here I was 2 days before the reset, sitting in blues and Nagrand greens, just about to pull Magtheridon while playing dual wield arms because I didn't have a 2-hander, and using fists that I didn't have weapon skill for. But to our surprise, Magtheridon went down after several tries, after Grull had dropped on the first try. I think perhaps my expectations had been shattered. I had all these memories from years gone past, and perhaps the skewed expectations from private servers. 25 man's tier 4 had dropped in a matter of what seemed like moments. And then I was off to do my Karazhan attunement and run dungeons for gear. Slightly anticlimactic. The second week was a little bit more interesting. It became clear that our other warrior had pretty much bailed on TBC, so I was going to be playing arms again. This time rocking my Ret Paladin 2-handed mace that nobody had wanted from the previous week. And I admit, it felt pretty nice to really hit something with a meaty 2-hander and do some actual damage. But, Fury was the goal. And shortly later, the guild did recruit a dedicated arms warrior, and I was able to play Fury full time in 25 mans. Of course, by full time I mean 25 minutes a week, because there's only 3 bosses. I guess I want to talk about the fun stuff. A lot of guilds have been doing like speed kills, and while for us this was a couple of months ago now, we did have a crack at the speed kill stuff, and I got to see some of the potential of the warrior. I think it's become clear to most that doing high damage in TBC is more about the raid strategy and the raid comp than it is about general play-in skill. While I didn't get the perfect conditions, we did do okay, we did alright. So I had one attempt at High King Mulgore. We decided to do no cleave, so I wasn't going to get the cleave and sweeping strikes, and they were going to simply burn the boss down. The idea was to kill the boss as quickly as possible. The pull kind of got messed up when a naughty fire elemental pulled the boss early, And we did our best to salvage it, and I even did pretty decent single target, and it was my best log. But as anyone knows, when you do a speed kill, if something goes wrong, everyone gets mad. And I was mad too because Dragon Maw did not proc. And to be honest, this whole time I was biting my teeth because I wanted a cleave. I'm a Fury Warrior. This is what Fury Warrior does, is cleaves. It's not a single target spec. But it worked out alright. We had a ton of room for improvement, as you can see from the footage, but people kind of lost interest, and in the following weeks we just killed it the standard way, and we didn't really pursue the speed kills on High King. We had 2 attempts of killing Magtheridon with a speed kill strategy. The first week we decided to just have everyone who was clicking to hold the click for the full 10 seconds and then get healed through it. In the second week of speed killing the boss, we went in with a bit of a more ambitious strategy and decided to change stun Magi to have a continuous stun on the boss by having groups click immediately after the previous group had finished. This allowed a massive amount of DPS on the boss, but we were having some issues, and in the end we compromised a little. The final kill was kind of messy, but you know, it was a decent kill, and we had, I think it was the 9th fastest kill in the world at the time. It's quite interesting that this tactic has become quite common now, and I really wish we'd continue to work on it. And in full try-hard fashion, we did check the logs, and I checked the maximum DPS that we were pulling off, and the average DPS, and the movement time, and the channeling time, and the cooldown usage, to see if we could kill the boss without the cave-in happening. And that would have been a 1 minute 42 second phase. And it did seem possible. Maybe we needed a little bit more gear, but that kind of coincided with the fire event. So if we were going to do it, that was the time. And lots of guilds did actually do just that, and our guild didn't even attempt it. So I was kind of disappointed, but people were more focused on tier 5 at this point than looking forward. And I think this really made me realise that the progression element of raiding and optimising DPS is something that I kind of miss. For certain, there was a lot of time to shave off on that Magi kill that I was kind of keen to explore. In the past 6 weeks or so, the focus for us, and I'd imagine many others, shifted towards phase 2 and tier 5, and we effectively abandoned all the speed kill stuff entirely, which for me was a big shame. That said, we delved into the PTR and I finally got to experience Dragon Spine Trophy, since it apparently doesn't exist. So on the PTR, I decided to test between Rampage and Deathwish builds, and was pleasantly surprised with Rampage, to be honest. The build really eases up the hit requirement, and the steady attack power makes life easier with the less predictable nature of progression. And while it seems pretty clear that Deathwish is going to be the speed kill choice again, Rampage is pretty good. And I've got some clips to show you, and you can see that Fury is still pretty competitive on these fights. Okay, PTR. First up, we got Void Reaver. Just so you know, it's a tier 4 warrior. Serpent Shrine Common's Trash Neck is equipped though. The main differences from my live warrior probably are just the Dragon Spine Trophy. Everything else is whatever. I mean, there's not much going on in this fight. I wasn't sure what to expect. That's why I'm playing Rampage. I'm not going in there with any big ambitions. The 3 tanks are going to be jostling for position on threat. The boss has got like a threat drop mechanic, and that's pretty much the fight. You're just going to sit there and attack the boss until it dies and don't pull aggro. Naturally, I'm showing you this video because I did quite okay on damage. You know, I was competitive with all the other guys, and I'm going to sneak ahead because I think it's going to be a pretty boring fight. So as you can see, towards the end of the fight, I am jostling for position, but if you look, I've got Recklessness ready, so I'm going to be a sneaky boy pretty soon. Bloodlust Brooch is ready. This is where really having Deathwish would have been handy, because the execute phase gets a lot better with Deathwish, but having Rampage makes it a lot easier to control your threat during the fight, because not having that massive burst at the start and then again towards the end is a bit more consistent. So I was kind of happy to be playing Rampage here. And you know, I'm not necessarily playing optimally either, but it's going pretty well for me. I'm topping the meters as a Fury Warrior. For what it's worth, I did not top the meters the following week, and we did kill this boss again. But yeah, it worked out alright. Now we're going to take a look at Solarian. Another interesting fight with no mechanics. Yeah, you can see the gear lock. compared to the point where we run in. This boss has no mechanics other than she stacks a damage debuff on players that increases the amount of arcane damage you take. There's some AoE adds that comes at certain points of the fight. They haven't got any health at all, so it's not really going to provide much of an opportunity for you, to be honest. But yeah, Warrior's great on this fight. You're not going to be able to do like great logs unless your Bloodlust happens at an opportune moment. It does for me this week. I killed this boss again the following week and they used Bloodlust on the pull and I didn't end up topping the meters, but as you can see soon, I'm about to show you. I've got Recklessness ready, so let's sneak ahead towards the end of the fight. So the boss is about to go into the execute phase now. Bloodlust is being popped. I got my Recklessness, Bloodlust Brooch, Haste Potion, here we go. So it doesn't actually work out to be the most excellent execute phase, to be honest. But it should prove enough to do top damage. Sneaking up. Again, like I said earlier, I'm playing Rampage build. Probably would have played, again, on a speed kill. If you know your numbers and your timings, you know how fast the boss is going to kill, and you've got, you know, sort of some control over when Bloodlust is going to be used. Death Wish is going to be the best for you. But Rampage does work really well. And there we are. How much did I do? 1.8k. Which isn't really not too bad. You'll notice we had a few deaths. That was purely due to that arcane damage debuff. The fight does not have the Baron-Geddon style bomb mechanic that it gets later in the expansion. This is a very simple fight. The more DPS you've got, the easier it is. We had enough DPS to pretty much ignore the mechanics. So I'm going to take a quick look at Kael Fass. It's a long ass fight, 15 minutes or something. Nothing really happens until the weapons spawn. And the weapons are a great opportunity for some big cleave, but kind of a waste to blow your cooldowns there. Once you've got the legendary weapons equipped, man, it feels so good to play the game like that. Running around super fast, mega DPS, really good. And you can do some huge damage in the last phase as a warrior. I'm talking big damage. But then you spend so much time like floating about, that kind of sucks compared to a ranged DPS. I do think that a guild that sort of like lets you do DPS, that says, right, okay, you can log this week. As a Fury Warrior, you can do mad DPS on this fight. But you kind of have to be selfish to do it. So that's kind of sucky. So that brings us to the last month or so. And unfortunately for us as a guild, things started to take a bit of a downturn. Many people had reached their end with TBC, and I'd speculate the recent lawsuit against Blizzard did not help matters. Several of our players called it a day on the game, and it became ever more difficult for us to recruit players who were ready to hit the ground running and could integrate with our guild. With each week, more players quitting the game, and what had seemed like a bustling and lively guild full of ambition just weeks ago was now crawling on its knees. Not wanting to commit to rebuilding the guild for the coming phase 2, the officers decided to call it a day, and so Panacea is no longer, and I'm once again without a raiding guild, just on the eve of Tier 5 release that we had set as our primary goal back in May. The first 3 months of TBC were a blast for me. I met some great people, and you know, the goal of playing the Fury Warrior and having a good time and proving that I could be a valuable and competitive member of a skilled group of raiders had perhaps surpassed my expectations. While I don't know what the future holds, the journey so far was worth it. I'd originally intended this video to talk more about warrior gearing going into Tier 5, some of the gameplay aspects, item builds and more guide-like elements. But it turned into more of the story of my TBC experience so far, and in the end I think that was the video I wanted to make. But I will touch on Tier 5 weapon choices and other guide related topics in a later video. Just want to say cheers for watching, and thanks to those who watched my previous videos, and hopefully I'll see you all again soon, and maybe I'll see you in Outland. Quattro on Razor Go. That's my character name. Bye.